And a good Wednesday evening from the Varsity Aces. I'm Greg Tartaglia for NorthJersey.com. Welcome to Varsity Aces Live for June 16th, 2021. This is our last school year edition because, well, number one, everybody's graduating, and number two, the 2020-21 school year sports calendar ends this weekend. However, we will have a couple more shows in store for you, some postseason surprises, things like that coming up in the next couple of weeks. However, tonight, we do have to recognize one team in particular that has been, quite frankly, one of the great dynasties of spring sports here in North Jersey, the Fair Lawn volleyball team. A week ago tonight, the Cutters captured their 10th North 1 sectional title in the past 11 years. In fact, they've been to the North 1 final every year since it was created in 2010. They've only been knocked out in the final once, and they've made the state semifinals at least every other year. So we're going to talk to two of the players who made it happen. One of them is actually an athlete of the week for us earlier in the year. That's Gil Zindorf, the senior setter for the Cutters, and he's going to be joined by junior teammate Itai Akkad. Itai, another great story, was a middle hitter last year, moved to the outside. People might say, well, hey, what's the big deal? You're still on the volleyball court, but we'll get a little education in volleyball because I know, guys, the Fair Lawn volleyball team, that's what they know. You guys know it very well. We tried to get Coach Ziza to come on tonight, Coach Peter Ziza, the excellent coach of the Cutters. He wasn't able to tonight, but I'm sure we'll give him the YouTube link so he can watch along. But first, welcome to you, fellas. And please make sure you're taken off mute as well. I will start with Gil. Gil, as the setter, and I think the one senior who kind of had some experience from years past. First of all, we did Athlete of the Week because you made it past 2,000 assists. Once again, congratulations on that. But
thank you.
What you really did was kind of help other guys like Itai and like all the other players on the team kind of come together as a unit. In football sense, you'd be like the quarterback, but obviously volleyball, it's the setter who sort of controls the offense. So how does that work for you? And what was it like getting Fair Lawn back into, a championship mode after not even having a season last year?
Yeah, so for sure. So last year obviously was going to be a big year for us. We were definitely like the number one up to win the state championship. And it was definitely a disappointment after we found out that COVID, we can't have a season last year. So it was definitely a big upset, but we all knew that we had to move on from it and we had to play like we're never going to have a season. So this year we lost all of our guys returning. I was the only returning one. So it was definitely so I knew by myself I had to lead the pack pretty much. And Coach Giza put a lot of trust in me to do it. And I knew that I had to be supportive to the other guys and that they're going to make mistakes that we wouldn't make in the past. But it's just that next point mentality that we need to have every time. And everyone who stepped up this year, who saw the court, just did a great job. And everyone just got so much better from the beginning of the season to now. It's really like you wouldn't be able to recognize us from our first day of practice to our sectional final or our last game. It's really amazing, especially someone like Itai coming from the middle and his transition to the outside in that little amount of time. It takes people years to do that from the middle to the outside, but he just did it in weeks, and it's really impressive what he was able to do, and also everyone else in the court too.
And you set us up perfectly for a nice little transition. Itai, they're both front row positions. What is different, or what was the challenge, maybe I guess you would say, from moving from being a middle blocker / middle hitter to being an outside hitter?
It's sort of like a different approach. In the middle, you have a lot more options, I think, because you're just you're in the middle of the court. You have a lot of different angles. You can swing left, you can swing down the middle, you can swing right, stuff like that. And then on the outside, usually that's like the primary hitter position. So the blocker's focus is already on you. And, you can't swing left at an outside position. So it's very limited in that sense. So it was a rough adjustment at first, but I think I got the hang of it halfway through the season. So it worked out fine.
And I'll say it did, certainly on the court. So we'll take you back to a week ago tonight. It was Wednesday, June 9th. You go up against your fierce forever rival, West Milford. Wow, they sort of came out of nowhere this year. In the past, I remember it's always been Fair Lawn, Wayne Valley. You played the sectional final against West Milford this year. I guess that would be my next question for you, Gil. West Milford, were they as big a surprise to you as they were to everybody else? And what was it like, kind of going back and forth with them this year? Because they're also in your league.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely a big surprise to us. I actually personally know Ryan Fennell, the outsider for West Milford. I play club with him, and I know that he was going to be a threat on their team, but I never thought that their team would come together like that and really be like a huge threat to us beating the season. We played them first time, I think, April 26th, something like that, at home, and they really took us by surprise. Took us we won the game in 3, but still it was. We were lucky a few of our servers went on runs to win that game, but I think they have another good outside. I think Matt Christ, like 6'4", who's very capable also, and they have a setter who can just put a ball up to the hitters, so that's all you really need. And they're a very dangerous team, lots of talent. It's a very dangerous team, and I think this was definitely their year. And it was definitely they're definitely a huge threat to us, for sure. But we worked hard and we were able to prevail with them at sectional final. And it wasn't the prettiest of games, but as long as we took the W, that's what mattered.
And there you see the championship point of the 2-1 victory for Fairlawn over West Milford. And they were the 1 and 2 seeds in the tournament. They were kind of number 1 and number 2 in North Jersey all year. This will be a good time to remind you that we will have North Jersey Sports Awards with boys volleyball. We haven't released the nominees yet, but certainly, gentlemen, keep an eye out because West Milford, Fairlawn were the 2 big stories this year. But I turn to Itai now. How did that match end, the sectional final? Take us through. Obviously, it's a very long match, but we kind of want, when you get down to the end, when you get down to championship point, take us through what the thoughts and the feelings, the emotions were, and what it was like, the celebration.
It was like relief in a sense because we played them the first time and it went to 3 sets. So it was a tough game. Even though like the sets weren't very close, it was still a 3-set match, and 3-set matches are always really close and tough. And then the next time we played them, we went to West Milford and then they beat us in 2. And their second outside, I don't even think he played that game, so he was injured. And it was like we just lost to this understaffed West Milford team. So going into this game, it was very like we have to step it up from last time. We can't let this understaffed team embarrass us and like they did last time. And they brought a big crowd and everything, so it really did feel like a championship game. And like even with the regulations, it was really loud and noisy, and I love the energy of it. So going into those last couple points, like with the serves, Ryan he got like 3-4 aces towards the end. And I wish he got the serve over. It would have been much nicer to end off on a kill or a block or something like that. But, win's a win. Still happy we got it.
And I've been to Fairlawn when, pre-COVID, when the gym was packed, and certainly the school's into it, the students are into it, and I think the faculty's into it too. So it was a little bit different this year, not as many fans, but I guess one question I seem to always ask Fairlawn every year, because they're always in the sectional final every year, and I'll turn to Gil for this one, is that, what makes this particular year's team special because of, you win however many years in a row. I don't think it really needs to be said this year. You came back from COVID and sort of did this thing all over again, and yet you're right back now where Fairlawn usually is. So that's kind of what made it special. Was it that much more rewarding now that you're back here after everything you've gone through? Gil.
For sure. It was very rewarding. Being in the season, after losing all our stars from last year, we were the underdogs, I would say, in multiple middle of the season. After the game that West Milford beat us, a lot of sites said that West Milford would beat us in the sectional final, and that we were actually the underdogs in the section this year, and that people were calling us the most beatable team in Fairlawn history. And definitely a lot of trash talk was going our way, I would say. And we just proved that all wrong, that just because we lose all our players, we're still able to persevere and just go forward and still be the dominant force that Fairlawn is in the north and onto the state also.
And I'll say this too, because I've covered various dynasties in other sports. Fairlawn is very similar to, say, Ridgewood girls lacrosse. They always say that we don't want to be the team that ends the streak or, the tradition or whatever. And I get the same vibe from Fairlawn. You could also call them, I cover girls basketball too. So we've got, Pascagoula Valley. Everybody pretty much knows the deal there. So especially the longtime viewers of Varsity Aces. So Itai, do you get that same feeling like, hey, we don't want to be considered, quote, the worst ever? We want to keep it going and let them know we're as good as ever?
Yeah, I mean, like the title of the most beatable team in the history of Fairlawn really, like, it sort of got to me because it was.
Yeah, I didn't write it. Let's get that clear.
Yeah. I mean, but it was like a surprise because I feel like every 3 to 4 years a new Fairlawn team comes in. So like I know for us it was 1 year, but the fact that so many people were underestimating us, like right from the get-go, like we weren't even ranked in the top 10 or top 15 at first, and then we finished in the top 4. So I think we really surprised a lot of people. And yeah, that mentality of like we don't want to be the ones to end that streak of going to sectional finals and winning sectional finals and stuff like that. We didn't want to be that team. And
this year, they weren't. Fairlawn finishing 21-7, lost to Southern, another team that Fairlawn faces pretty much every year, whether it's in the state playoffs or not. Team you challenge yourself against. Southern ended up winning in the state semifinals, and then Old Bridge ended up taking out Southern in the state finals. But another fine season for Fairlawn. One more thing before we wrap it up here on Varsity Aces Live. Greg Tartaglia joined by Gil Zindorf and Itai Akkad. We do have a Varsity Aces Legends video, North Jersey Legends video coming up, so you want to stick around for that. But one more thing before we say goodbye to volleyball. Fellas, the coming back from last year, not having a season last year, the winning a sectional title, all this stuff is great, but there may be some other things we don't see off the court or, one of those little side things that happens. Last question, and I'll pose it to each of you, is what's the one thing you'll take away from this season, maybe that people didn't know about Fairlawn or that people didn't see that kind of went on behind the scenes? We'll start with Gil.
Yeah, so I think a lot of us, most of our stars, half our stars probably played club over the season. Club during the off season was definitely helped us out a lot. And with even the guys that didn't, they still jumped right back into it in the swing of things, and they did really well doing that. And I think what people don't know about us is that we're not a program to have one good year and just fall off the rest. We're winning the sectional final every year, and hopefully going in the states, the TLCs, and moving on past that even. And our goal is every year, which is to win our last game, to win the state final, and that's our number one goal each year. But in order to achieve that goal, we take it step by step. So first with our league, which we split with West Milford this year, our county, which we won, our section, which we won, even though people saying we weren't going to win that. And then on to the TLC semifinal, which we had really a blast of a game with a Southern 3-set match. We took the first set, just fell in the last two, but even with that, it was such a great season, sharing the court with these guys and being the underdogs this year and proving people wrong.
Itai, what's the number one thing you'll take away from this season, maybe that people didn't get to see on the court?
I feel like people don't realize how close we are really as a team. We say family on 3 as our chant, and it's really more than just a chant. They really are a second family to me. I talk to most of them almost every day. Most of them are my best friends, and if we're not playing grass, we play for the same club, or we're just hanging out or something like that. And I always know that they have my backs with everything. So I feel like that's sort of that Fairlawn tradition that everyone there sort of gets along, and we all understand what it means to say family on 3. And we all understand that we have each other's backs no matter what.
Well, and that's one of the reasons Fairlawn is so successful year after year. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Gil Zindorf, the senior setter, Itai Akkad, the outside hitter, a junior from the Fairlawn boys volleyball team, North 1 sectional champions for the 10th time in 11 years. Fellas, we have to say goodnight, but again, thank you so much for joining us. Good luck in the future. And Gil, where's next for you?
I'll be playing at NJT.
So keep an eye out for the Highlanders for Gil. And of course, the Cutters, Itai, will be back next year. Thank you both. We'll talk to you again real soon.
Thank you.
And transition now. We move on to a little bit of track and field because let's just call it a little teaser for our North Jersey legend of the night. We'll have that coming up at the end of the show. But to get us ready, you know who we need to talk to speak track and field. It's Paul Schwartz, the record track guru for, I don't know, 100, 200 years, something like that, Paul?
Only 50. It'll be 50 July 19th.
That's all right. The year we're most concerned about with 2021 State Meet of Champs is coming up this weekend. Who should we be keeping an eye on?
Well, we've got lots of potential medalists. We have over 250 participants from 56 schools in North Jersey going to participate down at the Meet of Champions, which has returned to its previous home in South Plainfield this year. Unfortunately, it was going to be Rutgers, but unfortunately, the pandemic made it impossible for Rutgers to host this year. I'm hoping in the future we'll be able to hold it there. The state university should be the site of the Meet of Champions and also the state group meets. There are tremendous sites. Franklin, Neptune, and Pennsauken all did tremendous jobs this year, but the state Meet of Champions belongs at the state university. And New Jersey is one of the best sports high school track and field states in the country, as we'll talk about with the Olympic trials a little bit in a couple of minutes. And we should have a venue that matches and a meet that matches the quality of our athletes.
Again, have to file this under T's because we can't reveal anything right now. But earlier in the week, I did speak to a couple of SMOC bound. It's the SMOC, right? State Meet of Champs, right. SMOC bound athletes who may be involved in the Athlete of the Week conversation. Keep an eye out for that on NorthJersey.com tomorrow. But Paul.
So we've got an amazing group of potential medalists. I'm estimating somewhere between 35 and 50 medalists in the 36 events. We have entries in 35 of the 36. The 4x100 boys relay is the only one we don't have an entrant in. And there's a story behind that, but that's for another day. On the boys' side, Keyshawn Holt, who was our guest last week from Passaic Tech, will be running in either the 100 or the 200, possibly both. He's got a chance to do very well in both. And then he'll be back with his teammates in the 4x400 relay. I expect Passaic Tech to break 320 and get a pretty nice medal there. Jacob Heredia, the great junior from Clifton, is likely to run the 1600. He qualified in all three distance events, but the 1600 is where he ran 4:14 last week and has a chance to again be in that top five. One of the surprises of the year is Bergen Tech hurdler Jordan Nelson, who's had a spectacular year. And he's come from pretty much nowhere to where I think he's a top five potential medalist this week as well. LeRon Garrison of Dwight Morrow, he's in a very loaded shot put field.
And we talked to him for football.
Yeah, right. Exactly. He was a guest earlier in the year. He's got one more shot to throw at 60 feet. He threw 59, 2.5 a couple of weeks ago. He'll be top five either way. It's unlikely he'll get the win because the number one shot putter in the country is Cole Tucker of Colts Neck, and he's in the meet. The long and triple jump, we have two great young men, two seniors, Donovan Anderson of Bergenfield, Rashawn Markman of Waldwick. Rashawn did very well in the long jump 2 years ago as a sophomore, but he's been better lately in the triple jump, which he just learned less than a month ago, and he's already jumping more than 47 feet. He's one of five people, including Donovan, I think has a chance to win. They both also have a chance to do very well in the long jump. They both had very long jumps this year, and if everything works out right and they get a big jump, they could actually take home a championship. And to complete the boys' side, we have two great pole vaulters in Max Zuckerman, the recent Bergen County record holder from Pascack Hills, who cleared 15.8 early in the year, suffered an ankle injury, which for a brief time looked like it would end his season, but he came back. He qualified. He took one jump and qualified at sectionals. Then last weekend, he jumped 15 feet again to win the Group 2 championships at Franklin. He is on pace to be the first 16-footer. And Sean Hurley, he won the Group 3 state championship. He's the fourth Ultrapan athlete in 7 years to win that title. And so that's the boys. But
wow, and that's quite a mouthful too. We got a bunch of girls going too, right?
And they are not as strong as the girls.
Oh wow. Okay, so what do we have?
Let's start with the field events with the girls. Demarest has a situation where they could possibly win all three throws with three different girls.
Wow.
In the shot put, Casey Sullivan is clearly the number one seed. The junior threw 45, 5.5, 3 feet further than anybody in the state has thrown all year last Saturday.
Good basketball player, too.
A very good basketball player. Bryn Madonna of Northern Highlands has been consistently over 40 feet all year. The Yukon bound athlete has a chance to really do well. I think she's going to get a personal best in this event. The question is, will she have a great day and Casey has an off day? I kind of think Casey's going to hang in there. The discus is wide open, but the seed coming in, the number one seed, is senior Julieta Ambarsumian from Demarest, who threw 126.9, the best throw in New Jersey last week at the States. Bryn Madonna is also very good in that. Casey Sullivan's also very good in that. There are a couple of other young ladies who are not that far off. It's a wide open event. It should be a lot of fun. But we now are going to call Bergen County Javelin County because the top four seeds in the state javelin are all from Bergen County, and only two of them are seniors.
And one of them's from Demarest, right?
One of them's from Demarest. The latest to join the crowd was Lindsay Arone of Ramapo, with help from her grandfather and, of course, her great coach, Steve Farrow. She won the Group 3 state championship last week with a throw of 125.8. Haley Romero, the junior from Fairlawn, who's probably friendly with some of the kids you just had on, I should have asked. She won the Group 4 championship. She finished fourth 2 years ago as a freshman in the event. And the and Nikki Woods, who you referenced from Demarest, has the longest throw in New Jersey this year, but she did not win the Group 2 championship because Aliana Euchre from Bergen Tech in 2019, she was second in the state. She then came back to her home district of Westwood to compete this year, suffered a crippling knee injury in her second soccer game of the year, had surgery, came back. She really wasn't herself. Well, she was herself last Saturday, upset Nikki Woods through nearly 140 feet. She goes in as the top seed. A remarkable story either way. She's headed for Rutgers next year.
And then, you know what? You mentioned Rutgers. It made me think this is sort of, State Meet of Champs is obviously the end of track season for high schools, but certainly we got a lot of North Jersey alums who might be doing some things this summer because it's a big summer. In 2021, you don't think of it. Well, somehow the 2020 Olympics are going to be held in 2021.
Correct.
And we got some kids who might make it, right?
Let me get to that in a minute. I don't want to shortchange our girls because we have a lot of other girls. We have Bella Singh, Fiona Carter of Paramus Catholic, Bella's from Rutherford, and Madison Libby of IHA. All are over 18 feet and should contend in the long jump. We have Michelle Lee and Randy Conroy of Northern Highlands, Michelle Lee from Demarest in the pole vault. And we have the great Ridgewood team, including Anna Marie Tritola and Sarah Policano of Ridgewood one will run the mile, one will run the 2 mile. Mia Duback of Clifton's had a great year. Freshman, Christina Allen of Riverdale is already a spectacular athlete. I don't know if she'll run the 1600 or 32, but I guarantee whichever event she picks, she's going to excel in. And of course, the wondrous Angelina Perez of Lakeland, the junior who last week ran a state meet best of all time, 10:20:25, the 3,200 meters. She will win by as much as she needs to next Saturday. And, it's going to be an amazing, amazing day. Then but the day before on Friday, a prior North Jersey Athlete of the Year and a prior North Jersey Bergen County high school outstanding performer, Josette Norris, who now runs for Reebok Boston, is a true contender to qualify in the Olympics for the 5,000 meters Earlier this spring, she ran the 9th fastest time in American history in the event. She is primed and ready to go. Her first race is Friday.
That's right, Friday Tenafly.
Right, and she'll be joined in Eugene, Oregon at historic Haywood Field, which is brand new, but it's on the site of the historic Haywood Field, by Rutgers grad and former Indian Hills star, that's Corey Crawford, who not only has continued to jump well despite numerous knee injuries, he PR'd last week with a jump of 27 feet, 1.5 inches out of Chula Vista. I think his chances are amazingly good. I wouldn't have given, and I'm going to talk to him later tonight for a story we're doing, but I wouldn't have given him a plug nickel, and I don't know if he would have given one himself a year ago if the Olympics had been held in 2020. But he's had a remarkable comeback. I think he's got a solid chance to make the team. He's certainly going to be in the final. And then former DePaul and Georgetown star, now an assistant coach at Penn State, Joe White, who hasn't run a lot since 2019, but he got a qualifying time in the 800. I'm told he's in terrific shape. Who knows what he can do? He certainly would have been a contender if he hadn't suffered an injury his senior year at Georgetown. And we'll see if he can make our Olympic team in Tokyo.
Well, so we got a lot of track and field to tune into this weekend, huh? Between state meet of champs and of course the Olympic trials. But now this brings us to our North Jersey legend, the latest in our series. Darren Cooper's been narrating, of course. And this is another track and field star that we may not have heard from for a while. We're going to take a look back now, and we're hoping to have Darren introduce us. But Paul, this is someone I know that you certainly must know well. So why don't you give us your own little intro?
Well, I'm going to just introduce her very simply because I have a lot to say in the video. So how about we take a look at the latest North Jersey legend, Janine Davis of Queen of Peace.
Time is the ultimate judge for athletes. Janine Davis was ahead of her time, and North Jersey athletes are still trying to catch up to her. In her high school career at Queen of Peace, Davis set records that years after her 2005 graduation still haven't been caught. The sprinter earned 7 group state championships indoors, the most in Bergen County history. She won 7 group titles outdoors and 5 Meet of Champions titles overall. Her time in the 600 meters was a state record for 14 years and is still 7th nationally all time. Davis still holds Bergen County records at 4 separate distances. Her school, Queen of Peace, has since closed, but Davis's exploits remain.
I've been covering track and field in North Jersey and throughout the state for nearly 50 years, and I've seen some dominant athletes, but no one dominated any more than Janine Davis did. The breadth of her ability on the track was amazing. But what I remember most about Janine is seeing her a couple of years later at the Penn Relays when she was running for the University of Texas. She ran a great leg on the 4x800 relay team, and the Longhorns won the race. The team came into the press room for an interview, and Janine saw me and beamed her wonderful smile. And as usual, her smile brought a smile to my face. She was an unforgettable athlete and an unforgettable person.
In college, Janine Davis went to the University of Texas, where she was an All-American on their 4x400 meter relay team. She transferred to the University of Arkansas and continued to make history. Davis was All-SEC second team in the 800 meters and an outdoor All-American in the 4x400 relay. Davis has remained close to the track scene, working as a coach at Rutgers Newark and LIU Brooklyn. Time has been kind to Janine Davis. She's a North Jersey legend.
And again, thanks to Darren Cooper. He's been spearheading that project, and he did the narration, of course. And Paul, you saw Janine compete, and I think you pretty much said it all in the video.
She was absolutely memorable. If you look closely at the articles, I was privileged enough to write nearly every article about her while she was in high school. Her performances throughout high school were just unbelievable. As I said in the piece, she ran 55 meters, she ran 1,600 meters. She was tremendous in between. She held a national record for 14 years. It's still a state record. She truly is a legend.
As are you, Paul Schwartz, and we thank you for joining us on this edition of Varsity Aces Live. Once again, thanks also to the members of the Fairlawn boys volleyball team, sectional champs once again, senior setter Gil Zindorf and junior outside hitter Itai Akkad. You can catch this on a replay on YouTube, and you can catch us again next week on Varsity Aces Live when we'll have another show for you. Not too many left because, as we said, the school year is winding down, but we will be back again next week with plenty more from Varsity Aces Live. So you enjoy the rest of your evening. My name is Greg Tartaglia. Thank you for joining us this week. We'll see you next Wednesday for Varsity Aces Live.